I'm good. I'm just a little tired. Um, it's just been a lot of work in general and a lot of driving.
Yeah, I know.
So,
I've been part of LA so long. I go everywhere in a car.
yeah, seriously.
Big city too.
Man. But yeah, that's just what is it? I'm looking forward to sleeping tonight.
Did you get the Falcons thing?
What's up?
Did you get voted today?
I actually went local today because I came from Cyprus. So it wasn't too bad. It was about like a 30-minute drive. But what is it? It was just like tiring because I had to go to Cyprus and then I had to go here. So it was just like a lot of I just feel like I've been driving more recently. So
You just have this.
I was just visiting my girlfriend.
Okay.
So
She just have this. Big bus movie?
oh that would be cool. But man, I would be so busy.
Yeah. I mean, like, your girlfriend. If she bus.
Oh no, she doesn't.
Okay.
Yeah, she just does her own business thing. So
I see.
yeah, there's a what is it? She's preparing for upcoming events.
Okay.
So um she had to like work at home, so I went to go visit her.
I see.
But yeah, I need to be careful of how many times I drive to Cyprus because it's starting to eat into like my gas a lot. So I think I fill up gas twice a week right now. So it's just like 100.
Wait, that's a
It is, yeah. So it's like anywhere from 100 to like $140 of gas a week. Uh, so yeah, I just need to be more mindful about my spending.
no.
Yeah, it's nice. It's nice. So we'll get started in a minute, y'all. Today we're just going to continue this, and yeah, that's basically it. So we just keep working on this, and I should be pretty close to finishing, I think, today. If not, like we'll definitely finish it like next week. So I don't know. Yeah, it's kind of well, most people are online right now, but yeah, in class, like I don't know. Yeah, usually we have like a couple other people come.
Yeah, I know it's almost all week, but dang.
All right, it's seven. It's a 7 o'clock, so I'm gonna go ahead and jump in. So it's good to see y'all here today. Hopefully everybody's having a wonderful week. I'm having a pretty good week myself. Just been a little tired. Back still like achy a little bit, but a lot better than like before. So just to kind of jump right in, y'all. So first and foremost, Lightbox Expo. If you did go this past weekend, you have until next Monday to show me all that stuff. You can either email me like your picture, so a picture of yourself there, and also like a receipt of purchase, or like you can show it to me in person. I'll just kind of write your name down. Other than that, Monday was the last day to let me know if there was anything like you had to fix for grading. So whatever is set in stone is set in stone now. The things that I haven't graded yet will be the project two stuff. So there'll be the portrait assignments. So we'll go over that like when like those are submitted. Other than that, if you plan to resubmit for project one, like it's due on November 15th, Wednesday. Otherwise, like some other things, let's see. So next Wednesday, your portrait exercises are due. So just make sure to submit those on Wednesday. And we'll probably have an optional critique on Wednesday and Monday over here. But on Monday the 10th, we'll probably get started on Project 3 stuff too. So other than that, Monday, if I finish on Monday the 3rd, if I finish early, it's just going to be a lab day. And then Wednesday is most likely going to be a lab day also. But any questions on that before we jump into our demo today? Cool. All right then. So I'm going to go ahead and jump in. Then I'm just going to continue rendering this. So I think I started working on the lights last time. It's not it. Did I not save that part? Okay, I did. Okay. I was like, pretty sure I saved that part. So we can go ahead and start continuing to work on the lights over here. Now, I'm not going to add too many lights yet right now. And also, let's go ahead and just reset up like my brush window. So I like my brush window over here. let's go to my navigator. Perfect. Okay. And then, oh, my brushes aren't even uploaded anymore. So a lot of stuff got like reset, I guess. Let's go to import my brushes again. Awesome. Okay. So I'm gonna use this brush called the A Soft 21 Soft Forms brush here. I really like this brush just for like painting like a couple soft forms. So we're gonna try to get the forms of my face as I kind of paint them in. It's the wrong layer, no wonder. Let's go to this layer. By the way, a good trick is if you hold command, when you go to the move tool and you hold command, you see how like this little pink box comes up, right? And it comes up depending on where you put your mouse. If you tap inside of that pink box, it'll actually bring you to that layer. So I use that a lot to kind of just jump between. You see, goes there's layer 16, and this one goes to layer 15. So it's just kind of a nice way of just jumping to different layers very quickly, but it only works if you're pretty good at like organizing your layers. This brush has a little bit more texture to it, but I kind of like that. It's going to be really nice just for me to just get some like structure. There we go. Highlights and stuff we can push in a little bit. Anything that's like too much, you can go back in with like a soft eraser and just kind of soften out just a tad bit. And you see the texture is still there. It's just not as like crazy. You got to go back to this layer here. I'm gonna push more shadow. Let's go back to this layer. Let's grab the soft brush again. We're just gonna go in and just soften it so that way it's not as harsh. I'm just trying to get those wrinkles in a little bit more. Let's actually start getting some of the eyebrow in too. Now for the eyebrow, I do recommend. Now some people like to go in and just like start adding like strands and stuff like that, and you can do that. So maybe if I grab like an A round transfer, kind of like that, I can go in and kind of add like a couple strands. And generally, like the eyebrows are going to like grow a certain direction. So you want to make sure that your strands are also going in that direction. But I also recommend, like, if you're going to be working on eyebrows, you can also start off more as a shape and then push the strands later. And that could be actually nicer. Now, I'm not saying this method doesn't work, but like to me, because there's like shadow underneath the eyebrows, I like to just kind of get a block in first. So you can see I'm using like the flat brush again just to kind of get more of a shape in first. And it has like a little bit of tooth to it, so it kind of gives that impression for the eyebrows ready. And my eyebrows look like super bushy right now, but we'll fix that up in a little bit. And later we can go back in with like a round brush and just kind of like clean up some of that. So I'll go in and like kind of add in like a couple what is it? A couple strands that kind of stand out a little bit more. Yeah, we can kind of keep it like this for now, just so we kind of have like the shape of the eyebrow in. There we go. And then here's kind of what I would work on a little bit next, y'all, is let's start pushing in some more of like the darks like on the face. So I'm gonna go ahead and make a new layer. And one way that you can kind of start off is you're gonna make a clipping mask and you're gonna hold Command and you're gonna click on the thumbnail over here, and that's gonna select everything on that layer. So I'm gonna go ahead and select everything on this layer. And then I'm gonna go to layer 21, that's my new layer, and we're gonna press the mask button. And what that's going to do is, so once I press the mask button, it's going to make a mask of my selection. And if I go to this area over here, it's going to allow me to just kind of work within like just the shadow areas. So I can go ahead and use this to basically add darks in areas like over here without it actually going into the light parts. And that way it contains all my like core shadows within that, within like within the dark side. Any questions so far? So something I can start doing, let's go ahead and grab a soft round brush over here. We're gonna grab some black. And I'm just gonna go ahead and start, oops, I'm gonna start darkening up some of these parts. And I'm gonna use a hard round brush for some of these areas too, or a more harder brush for some of these areas. But I'm just gonna go ahead and just kind of get in, just very generally, how some of these things look first. And let's go to a hard round brush now. Hard round. Something I kind of want to do too before I continue. Darken dark side just a bit more. There we go. Dark these parts and mix into it. And when I'm trying to render y'all, the first thing I want to look at are my shapes again. So what are the shapes that I need in order to make my form read properly? You can see like, even though it's just like really rough, because the shapes are in there, like the form shadows read really well. Actually grab a soft round brush again. Just gonna clean up some of these parts, just soften it. I really like this method because it makes it a little bit easier for me to just it makes it a little bit easier for me to just simplify my shapes. Let's go back to the hard round brush. Actually, let's use the soft forms brush. Let's grab some of this tone. Let's get the eyelid in. I feel like my eyes pop out a lot, so it's nice to get that. Oh, there's like I think I overextended on like the eye over here, so let's clean that. Maybe not. It's the shadow. Okay, so yeah, I got that part I didn't even color in, so I need to fix that actually. Let's go back to the shadow layer. Let's lock this. Let's go back to the shadow layer. Let's go back up here. Maybe the parts erased out. Let's see. It is, but I think I think there's a shadow not painted in there, so I'm just gonna try and figure that out real quick. Let's actually get rid of the mask real quick. we'll go ahead and add it back in a little bit. Oh yeah, there we go. So you see this part wasn't selected. That's probably why. Let's go back in here. Let's go ahead and make a mask. There we go. That's a little bit better. We can always go back and like on the very, very end, we can tighten things up a little bit more too. So something I like to do at the very, very end, y'all, is I'll go ahead and like maybe like just I'll go ahead and paint over it again and just kind of like fix up some of the parts. Wrong layer. Also make sure you're on the right layer. Important. Looking really good. You can already see just from these shadows, like it's like creating so much more form when we look at them. Start working on parts like the lips too. We can also start working on parts like the eyes. Gee, let's do that first real quick. Let's grab a hard round brush. And I'm just gonna go ahead and push some of the eye areas just a tad bit darker. Make a new layer for that. Go to the lip, new layer. On top of, before I do that, actually, for the actual mouth opening, we're gonna go ahead and set that on a separate layer just so like we can just like make sure that part stays the way it's supposed to. Mhm. I really like this brush too. This is called the Fenghua brush from an artist named Fenghua Zong. But it kind of just has like a little bit of texture to it. That's why I like it. And it's really easy to just kind of like blend stuff with. So I'm gonna go ahead and go to the lips. And we're just gonna go and use that to just kind of figure out the shape of the shadows first. You see that line that we did in the middle really, really helped out too. My recommendation too, when y'all are rendering, try not to use brushes that are too small in the beginning. Like stick with bigger brushes in the end. Like, yes, I'm using a pretty small brush for this area, but I mean, comparatively to like the size of the lips is actually quite big, you know? So I try to use the texture of the brush and the shape of the brush to kind of suggest what it looks like first. And then I go in later when I want to do details and I make it really small to add like the actual highlights and stuff like that. But a lot of people tend to jump into detail too quickly. So you just want to be very, very, very mindful of that. And here's what I want to do too. Let's go here. I'm gonna go ahead and like alpha lock this. I'm just gonna go ahead and like brighten up some of the shadows. Not all shadows are gonna be like this dark. Okay, it's looking really, really good. Boom. Soft brush. Let's go and lighten up some of these. Oh, let's turn off alpha lock. If you erase with alpha lock on, it usually turns it into white. So just be really careful. You have to turn off alpha lock. All right. Go ahead and work on the eyes a little bit too. Be nice to start getting some of those parts in. Let's pick a new layer. Let's go ahead and just get the spheres of the eye in first. So the eye, again, is like a ball that's inside of an eye socket. So we're going to go and just get the shadows for that sphere in first. We can actually get the highlights too. Something I like to do sometimes is I'll just finish the eye because I mean it's one of the I would say like even though the face is the focal point, even your focal points are gonna have focal points too. Right? Like think about like when you draw a character design, like the first thing you're gonna look at is the face usually, right? So so for me, if I look at the face, even the face is gonna have a focal point, which is gonna be the eyes, the nose, the mouth. There's certain things that we like to look at as like human beings when we look at other human beings, right? So I recommend like sometimes what I'll do is I'll get the eyes in first, and then from there like I'll just start rendering everything else. And because the eyes have such like strong highlights and things like that, it can make it pretty easy for me to start determining how everything else looks just by getting those parts in. So let's go ahead and make another layer. This is going to be for like the eye socket, kind of like that. We got like another one like maybe like right here. There we go. Let's go ahead and go to the pupil now, or the iris. These are pretty dark, but here's what I'm actually going to do is, so one thing I like to do with my pupils is if you want to make it look a little more painterly, you can give it a little bit of a softer edge. So there's a couple ways we can do that. I can go back in with like a softer brush and just kind of soften that edge a little bit, kind of like that, right? Or I can grab like a smudge tool and just like smudge some of it. And even though it's like even though it doesn't completely look like what it does in the image, you can add like a little bit of like an artistic effect to it. So you see, even though it's not like perfect anymore, it still looks pretty good from afar, which is like really the most important thing. Like, um, you only need to make things look good up close if they're meant to be seen up close, right? Like if this picture is going to be like 40 feet big, then yeah, I maybe want to make sure everything's a little more crisp. Not always, because there are different styles you can work with, but usually that's the case, right? Say not always, because like anybody ever seen like Monet's like water lilies like in person? They're huge. They're actually like the size of these walls, and they're wrapped all around like the museum. What is it? Let me actually show you all an image of the. I'm sure everybody has seen like the water lilies before, like these over here, right? But if you go, I think it's at the d'Orsay. Yeah, they're humongous. And that's not even like the big one that I was talking about too. There's like oh no, sorry, it's not the d'Orsay, it's a Lorangi. Yeah, there we go. They like wrap around like the whole wall. It's like they're huge. So you can still have impressionistic things be pretty big, but for the most part, like when I try to do art, I want to make sure that it looks good at the size that it's meant to be at, regardless of the style, you know? So for me, like even though I could make this sketchy and really big, like at the same time, this is an 8.5 by 11. So at most, it's probably going to be like on my screen, it's probably like 8.5 by 11 right now. It's bigger on here, obviously, but I don't need it to be really, really good up to like this close because if it looks good from afar at the range that I'm going to be looking at it, which in that case, like if this digital, um, unless you're looking at it on a TV, most of the time it's going to be at the size of a computer screen or a phone or something like that, right? So I would make sure that it looks good at that size. Really like the portrait so far. It's looking good. Uh-huh. I would consider that a mural too, honestly. At that point, it is a mural. That's a good question, though. As an illustration teacher, I actually wonder what separates a really big painting from a mural. Like, what are the technicalities of it?
It has to like paint on the wall itself. That's like on canvas.
I can see that. Yeah, because like I made like quote unquote a mural for the coffee shop, but it was more of like a wallpaper if I want to be technical about it, because we printed it and like put it on. So yeah, maybe a mural would be considered something that you paint on top. Maybe it's like the medium that you paint on top of.
Expected. Or
Hmm.
it's just big.
Yeah.
Or insulation. That's what it's right. Insulation is
I actually don't know that, but that's interesting. I'm actually gonna look that up a little later. Oh, it's because I'm in a multiply group. That makes sense. Okay, let's put this above. Block this for now. I'm also gonna keep some of my lines in there. Like you see how like when I take them off, it kind of gets rid of some detail, right? Something I would kind of recommend you all to do is when I do like when I do my sketching with like charcoal and stuff like that, sometimes like I'll get rid of some of the lines, but also keep some of the lines in there as a part of like helping with separation, you know? So like for example, like I could probably leave some of these sketches on the top over here because they just look like strands coming out from the hair. The eyes are looking okay. Maybe I'll get rid of the ones over here. Maybe I'll get rid of the ones on the lips. So that way, like, because I'm going to render out the lips a little bit more. But line work can add a little texture. One of my old teachers, and actually, like he was a he went to Cal State Fullerton for his master's after, so that he can also teach classes too. Anybody here know Patrick Ballesteros? Oh, his stuff is really cool. Phil's like, I think Phil knows him too. I think they what is it? Because Phil got his master's at like Cal State Fullerton also, but that was a long time ago. Like it was like I think over like 10 years ago, 15, something like that. But Patrick, one thing that he would always do with his work is he has a very line work heavy style, but he likes to erase some of the lines. So you can see over here, like this is what his line work looks like, but he'll keep some of the lines in there as a part of his like stylization and also just to kind of help with like enclosing some of the shapes too. So it's the same as like if I'm working with pencil or charcoal. Sometimes I don't like erase all the lines. I just erase some of the lines and keep some of them in there that I could use for certain parts, right? So you can kind of see over here how like what is this? Some of those like textures and line work gets translated into like color. You can see like some of those hatches remain there because like it's just nice to have that as like texture. And then if you turn it into a toy, so that's pretty cool. Yeah, he has a very interesting way of kind of a side topic, but he does a lot of like fan art type of stuff, and like for him, one way that he kind of gets away with it is because fan art is technically illegal to like it's okay to do, but it's illegal to sell unless you have the IP, right? Of course, some like companies have like content creator programs, or some companies just don't care in general. They see it as free marketing, But I mean, Disney, Funimation, AMC, those are all like ones that do care quite a lot. So you just have to be really careful of making stuff like that. Like you do a Mickey Mouse fan art and you like go to Comic Con, like Disney's gonna hunt you down, you know. But for Patrick, in the spirit of Halloween, also these are not fan art. These are kids dressing up as the characters. So that's kind of his argument, which it is a little bit on the borderline, but it's working for him. Also, by the way, if you're ever wondering about that, just to dive into the topic just a tad bit too, most companies don't care if you do fan art unless you're like making so much money, it's starting to hurt their company. So like, if honestly, like $500 is not that much. Like if you make $500 off of like a Pokemon drawing, which by the way, Nintendo is also another one that will hunt you down. Uh, yeah, any of like the really big companies that are just like super established that everybody knows that they'll hunt you down. But what is it? Like if you're working with like, they're not gonna get mad if I mean if they see it, yeah, they'll get mad. But like most of the time they're not going to care unless like you're doing something that like really hurts the company. So if you make like $500, $600 like off of like a Pokemon painting or whatever, like no one's probably going to care about it unless they walk past your like booth and actually see it. But if you're making like thousands of dollars and your stuff is starting to get sold at like Target, Walmart, or like Hot Topic, you're publishing that. Yeah, they're gonna come after you. So that's kind of like what is it? I teach a class on digital illustration at Cal State Fullerton, and that's kind of what I tell them because they have a merchandising assignment where they have to make stickers. So we talk about fan art a little bit. But yeah, fan art is a great way to like you can actually improve your portfolio in some ways because like if you're doing fan art for like DreamWorks, right? And like they see some of it. As long as you're not selling it, like it can actually show them like you understand their IP like quite well. Your whole portfolio just shouldn't be fan art. It should be mostly original stuff. And they look at your personal work and okay, this person like understands like how we like design and what we like and things like that. But if you are trying to make a business out of their IP, that's usually like what ends up being an issue. So just be mindful of that. That's kind of like my 2 cents on like fan art stuff. But if y'all have any questions on that, feel free to let me know too. Like it's always like a very like touchy subject, but there's a lot of gray areas in it and a lot of like loopholes. And that's why people kind of get away with it.
Yeah, I remember yeah, the polar opposite. Just have it all.
Hmm. Yeah, yeah, it really depends on the company too. Like for example, like you definitely shouldn't have like a whole bunch of fan art in there unless like you want to be a licensing artist. Like for example, like you can actually get a job doing fan art. Like if you work for like Acme Archives, Like you can literally do like you can literally make a whole bunch of fan art, never sell any of it, and have some original stuff too. And then you can apply like for a job, send your portfolio in, and these are all artists who are not originally working on on like the IP, but they literally just make fan art. But because Acme Archives has the IP for these things, you're allowed to like publish through like their business. Yeah, it's super cool. Like, you can actually make quite a living off of doing fan art, even if it like legally. You know?
But they take a cut from what they sell on there.
Usually, yes. It depends. Each company kind of depends. Some of them like they'll take a cut for each one, and they'll be like, "Oh, you're only limited to like 100 prints." Some of them like just straight up like buy the art from you and give you like a set amount, and it's like 100 prints, or they might have like a royalty program. So it really depends on what you're trying to do. But what's cool though is like if you do work for these companies, like it's kind of weird because sometimes like if you're boothing and they're also boothing and you're selling the same thing, that's kind of like a little bit awkward. You know, it's happened with a couple of my teachers before. Like they work for no, well, they knew they were going to be there, and they are allowed to technically sell the work through their own business, but it's a little bit weird because technically it also belongs to that company too. But so it was they couldn't really do anything about it, but it wasn't exactly the best look either. But there are some companies that do allow you to so if you sell a certain amount of a print and you do really, really well, I forgot what he said, but long story short, like there's a thing where they will allow you to sell one print that where you do take the full cut for everything. And like from that you can sell through your business and like you just have the logo on there to also show that you also work for, it's also like based off that company. But in addition to that, like what a lot of people do too is when you make like fan art like this and like you and then you what is it? During the process, you have to do a lot of test prints. You're usually allowed to sell the test prints also. So they're called artist proofs. So they'll write on the back that's a proof, like 1 out of 3, 2 out of 3, 3 out of 3. Yeah, yeah, those are just all test prints. And then like before they print out like the actual one with the company. So, but it's also interesting too. Sometimes like even though you make the art, it goes through an editor and they edit it for you. And then so my teacher got really pissed because like he did a Star Wars one and basically what ended up happening, I'm actually gonna merge these down really quick, y'all. So these are all one layer now. By the way, so if you're scared to do that, make duplicates first, then merge it down, and then like hide the other ones, so that way like you can go back.
This is for all different folder and the merge.
You can too. I just don't want to break my clipping mask. That's why. So it depends on the situation, but like if they are not in a clipping mask, then you can do that. But for these, like I want to bring them up in case like I want to use them the clipping mask again. But yeah, he was really, really upset because what is it? He made like it was like a X fighter, I think, flying through space. And they're like, "Oh, this is great!" And then they gave it to the person who was supposed to like adjust it for print, and they blurred the background.
Why?
Yeah, right. And it's like he showed us the version, and it literally looks like it's not even like a motion blur or anything. It's just like it just looks like
Copyrighted. Can't see
yeah, you just literally couldn't see anything. And then like he showed us the original and he was like, "Which one do you like more?" And I was like, "Obviously the one that you made, man." Yeah, very interesting though. But yeah, doing fan art can actually be a pretty sustainable like career if you know what to do. So, if you like doing fan art, that's totally fine. But if you are like, originality is also very important too. So like if you are planning to like, especially if you're planning to go into like biz dev and things like that, like it's okay to have fan art in like your personal portfolio. But if I were going to submit like a portfolio to like DreamWorks and stuff like that, I would have like mostly original work, if anything. Okay, I'm gonna make another layer. We're gonna go ahead and I'm gonna grab the soft forms brush again, and we're gonna start pushing some like lights on these parts. I also wanted to work on the eyes and the hair a little more too, but we can do that in a bit. And for here, I'm just gonna go ahead and just add a couple lights, so some reflective tones. Yeah, I feel very blessed like having that teacher because he's actually more of an environment painter and he switched over to doing licensing work like towards the end of his like retirement. So it was really cool. It's not every day that you have like a teacher who makes a living off of doing fan art. Yeah, it's super interesting. I will say this though, unless you're constantly doing stuff for them, it's a very like up and down sort of situation. Because like it depends on how many prints that you're selling to. Like if you make a whole bunch and no one's buying them, you're not getting any commission. And then like sometimes like what is it? You might not be allowed to make any more until certain ones are sold first, etc. So he was doing a lot of other stuff on the side, but he was like he's a full-time freelancer, so it wasn't like he didn't have other things to do. But it's just kind of good to think about because like if this is something you want to do, like you have to kind of consider, especially now today, like back then it was a lot easier for artists to just have one job and just kind of live through that. But like nowadays, like most artists I know do like multiple things. Like a lot of them teach and then they do freelance and then they have like a contract studio job, something like that, you know. Go back to the hair. Go ahead and grab use the flat brush again just to get some texture in. I like the flat brush because you can go on the side if you want like thinner lines, or you can use like the flat part to get like more texture. I also want to soften my hair a little bit, actually. So let's do that. Let's go back to the hair silhouette. And I'm just going to go in and just erase into the silhouette a little bit. You know what? I made a silhouette for the head too. That's probably why I can't see it very well. Okay, I'll soften it at the end. That's fine. I'll just like paint on top of it to soften it. I was trying to erase into it, but I have two silhouettes. So if I turn this off, like there's this part in the back. So we can just soften it later. Yeah, if you're ever into doing licensing work, though, I would recommend there's an expo in Las Vegas. It's called the Licensing Expo. It's completely free to go to, and it's not just all fan art. Licensing is also like working on toys and things like that too. So, like, what is it? Mike might know a little bit about that as well. But if you like working with brands and like brand IPs and things like that, like, because you could be like working on like Barbie or something like that. That's also like a licensing thing too, right? But if you're interested in that, they have it in Vegas every year, and it's usually free to go to, but that might change. That might have changed. It's been a while since I've checked. I know, right? That you don't get those that much anymore. Yeah, it's a good one to go to for anyone that's interested again. Let's see. I just push that back. Go off in some parts. And actually, my widow's peak is a little bit too big here, so we're gonna go ahead and like clean that up a little as well. The shape looks off. That part I'm not as concerned about like being perfect or anything, but it's just nice to just make sure get a little bit of shadow. Just to go nice, looking really good. Let's go back to the eyeballs. I'm gonna go ahead and grab. Let's use the film brush. And I'm just going to go ahead and just add a couple more values. Love these parts. There, go back to here, add some highlights. This is where I'll actually start adding some white. Not every highlight is always white, by the ways. Highlight, it just means that it's the area closest to the light source. So save white for areas that you actually feel like need to be white. Oh, nice. Just getting like those parts of the eyes in already helps so much. We'll go back and refine those a little bit later. It is, right? Like just before and after, it's already looking like so much more. There's so much more depth in it already. And it makes it feel like more alive too. Like now I have something I can kind of work off of also. Like if I have the highlights in there with like the darks, like it helps me figure out values for other parts. It helps me kind of figure out how much detail I need to add to other areas too to kind of match up to it. And then if every part is finished, I can always go back and push the eyes again if I wanted to as well.
That's why it's important.
I would say so. I personally like that. That's kind of like my trick. Some people have an easier time roughing everything out and then pushing the focal point, but I feel like if I render out like if I'm doing like an environment, I get the castle in first and that's the focal point and it looks pretty refined. I can start working on the other areas and kind of figuring out how much details those things need to have. And as long as it's not as crazy as like the castle, like my eyes will always go back to the castle, and then you can always go back and refine more. It's a little bit easier to go and add more to something rather than like pull back, I would say. Pulling back is more like understanding when to stop before you move forward a little bit more. Yeah, it helps me out a lot, but to each their own. I have friends who, what is it, like watercolor artists, they usually start off a lot rougher and then they refine, but that's because like,
Kind of
well,
have to, though, right?
exactly. Like one of my friends, he's like a really awesome watercolor artist, so that's like his method, but I'm an acrylic painter, so it's like totally different. Similar in some ways, but I personally just really, I really enjoy adding in like my focus first and then working off of that. And you can like some of the parts, like if I just refine some of the parts, the rougher parts already just start to like fall in place too. Got to be careful. Try not to use black too much. Save that for later. Black and white should be for, excuse me, for contrast. You see, like it makes the eyes just pop out just a tad bit more. Okay, let's go to like the face again. I want to go ahead and start working on some of the lighter tones on like the nose and stuff like that, so we can start pushing those out a little bit more. So let's grab some white and let's try some different brushes first. Let's try the flat brush actually, because there are some like just to make it a little bit more painterly. I don't need to use like one brush for everything. That's also another trick for like making things looking a little bit more rich, y'all, is if you try to use different brushes for different parts, not that you have to, but it can be a really easy way just to add a little more variety into like the stylization. Yeah, what's up?
It's like,
Uh-huh.
so, like, when you paint on it and then it's like behind it.
It it can. Yes, like you mean like a brush that emulates like a wet on wet, like a mixer brush.
Yeah.
So let me see. I actually have something kind of like that. Let me go ahead and like show you all real quick. It can be pretty useful if you're trying to get if you're more used to painting that way or trying to get a certain style. Let's go to my brushes real quick. So I'll show you all another thing y'all can do. I don't use this anymore too much, but it can be kind of helpful every now and then. So this is a tool library. We used to use tools a lot. Tools are just basically preset like tools that you can like create. But I stopped using them because brushes basically do the same thing now. Before brushes actually, now that one thing you can see is you see how like these brushes have like different icons for the tools, right? Like back then we didn't have that, so we did use tools for that reason. Yeah, like back then, like the brush was just a shape, so you could click on like the smudge tool and click on any of these, and it would just like maybe a smudge tool with that shape basically. So yeah, my process has changed a little bit since then, but not too much either. But I used to use tool presets a lot, so we'll go ahead and throw that over here, and then we'll go ahead and like load them. Let's go to downloads, JP Tool Library. It's gonna ask you to import as brushes. Do not do that. It's gonna like create like a whole bunch of brushes that are gonna like it's gonna give you a headache. And it tells you it recommends that because they're literally the same things now. Now you see like brush presets now contain all functionality of tool presets, but I don't like that because if you load it as tools, what I do like about loading it as tools is you could go here and it says show current tool presets. So when you click on a brush, it shows you like the tool presets for that actual tool. So for me, one thing that I used to do is let's go to the mixer brush. There's one called Old Faithful that I really liked. Okay, I don't see it right now. Did I get rid of it? Let's go back to the brush tool. Dang, this like brings back memories. It's been a long time. Yeah, it really is. I saved my favorite ones and put it in the tool presets. But there's a lot of these I don't even use anymore. Uh, just go back to the mixer brush. There used to be one called Old Faithful that I really liked. But we'll use like let's try Sergeant. Like what's up? Oh, there it is. Old Faithful. Oh, thank you. So Old Faithful can be really fun. I'm just gonna go ahead and just make a quick copy over here so that way it's all on the same layer. But for these brushes, they can be actually really helpful if you're trying to achieve a specific effect. So if you want something to feel more like an oil painting, what it does is you can grab a tone and then we can go ahead and like lay it on there and it kind of like blends with like the stuff around there. So if that's something you're more used to, it could be a really great way just to like, and what's interesting too, by the way, is like if you like lay down this, it actually shows you on the top left like what's inside, what paint is inside of your brush. So you know how like when you like paint in real life, if you paint like a yellow on top of a white, like some of that like white is going to be inside of your brush now. It shows you that, and you can basically use that. So you're basically kind of moving around the paint at the same time. So I would say it can be really useful. I'm not very good at painting this way with digitally, or it depends. The Procreate ones are a little bit easier to use, actually. Yeah, if you want to like create like a softer tone or softer edges, or you like that like smudgy sort of look, it can be fun. So like I can grab this and just kind of like move around the paint a little bit. And if you want to get rid of the paint, by the way, is you could just select a color or whatever, and it usually just gets rid of that part. It only keeps the paint in there if you decide to keep using it without like switching over to something. So if I like use my eyedropper and I grab this, it cleans up like my brush, so it's like mixing it in water. And then I can go in here and just like, and you see it starts to give me like that painterly sort of texture.
Well,
Exactly. So I think it can be useful, but it just really depends on how you paint. For concept artists, they actually use mixer brushes in different ways. Like concept artists, what is it? They use mixer brushes like as a cloning thing. So I can find like I honestly don't know how to do it very well because I'm more of like just a normal brush tool person. But I can like send I can show you all a video later on. Like Aaron Blaze does a really good job doing it. Like he'll basically paint a tree and then like he'll turn that like tree into like a brush, and then when you paint with it, it just makes a whole bunch of foliage everywhere. Have you seen it? It's so cool. Yeah, that's also a mixer brush. And mixer brushes are very interesting. What is it? There's another really cool tutorial too, where it's a schoolism one, but he basically makes a mixer brush like it's like a sphere, and then basically he uses the sphere to like create like gestures and stuff like that. I can do a I can show you how it works with like the smudge tool, but I don't know how to do it with the mixer brush. So it's basically the same idea as like let's just say I make like a tree. So we'll go ahead and make a tree. We're gonna go ahead and make a sphere like this first. And then I'm just gonna go ahead and grab like a hard round brush. Grab a smudge tool first. Just grab the hard round brush. I'm gonna grab the general brush. If there's no tool icon on the top right, then you can turn any you can basically use any that brush for any tool. And we're just gonna set it at 100%. If you don't set it at 100%, it just kind of like smudges it. But if you set it at 100%, and like I know someone who paints this way, it's just such a crazy way of painting, and it actually works too. Basically, if it's at 100%, you can move it, and it just kind of like, yeah, and he creates like trees this way. I know, right?
So you're basically setting the
Exactly, yeah. And then he'll like just go back in and just like texture it so that way like it just looks and feels like a tree. But you can make a mixer brush that just like paints that circle so you don't even have to like start off with the sphere. It just like whatever you paint, it just like continues and adds the shadows in the same places. So like a lot of times what he'll do is like he'll just be like, oh, if I wanted to like paint like a person or something like that, right? Like this is like the body, and then like we have like the legs over here, and then we have like another leg over here, and we have like the hands over here. It's a really interesting way of like yeah, the beauty of like digital art, right?
yeah.
It's so cool. Yeah, my pleasure. Now I want to go in and like play around with it more. I'm just more used to like hand painting usually. I really like that the hand that I'm a big fan of like Zacharetz and stuff like that. I don't know if y'all seen his work before. I can show you all a little bit later. But I really like the hand painted style, so and I really like John Park. So that's why I try to use these brushes quite a lot.
Definitely a little bit of Sorry, so speaking of
Yeah, seriously. Yeah, something I learned while teaching one of my classes here actually was because I used to when I first taught like one of these classes, I would just start jumping in using all these like crazy brushes, and people were like, "How did you use that?" Blah blah blah. And it made me realize like, let's simplify this and actually go over like how to use like brushes. 'Cause, yeah, there's so many ways to use brushes, y'all. Like some brushes are like for stamping, like you can literally like grab like what is it? If you want to make like a mountain texture.
yeah, that's what I thought you're talking about with tree. Like, you make a like stand and like a forest.
Uh-huh. Yeah, that it's what is it? It would definitely seem that way, right? But like it's like you can use this for like mountain texture. I can also use this to create like foliage. So if I wanted this to be like tree leaves, I could do that too. It's like interesting because like there's like mark making brushes. Like we use mark making brushes like all the time. right? Like if I'm over here, we have like rendering brushes for like light to dark. I can also, if I want to, I can like tap this and just make textures too. Yeah, something I kind of learned about brushes is brushes are kind of abstract, but if you separate them into like mark making, drawing, painting slash rendering, mark making, and stamping, it helps a lot more and texturing. So texturing would be like maybe like this brush. Like if I wanted to add like yeah, dirt dots, right? Like now it looks like I have like freckles. But yeah, like if you separate them into those categories and you, then it helps a lot to kind of understand how to use them. And then for me, something I learned too is you're either like you're either like drawing, you're either like rendering, or you're either like tapping, you know, and those things, those three movements can also help separate the brushes into how they're being used too. Like when I used to teach traditional classes, like we only have like round brush and flat brush most of the time. So like we had to figure out different ways to use it. Like we're either like smudging or like tapping or like drawing with it. So it kind of like helped me translate how to use digital brushes when I jumped into it.
Okay, makes a lot of sense. And it's almost like, you know, you different brushes.
Hmm.
So being able to
Yeah.
structure it, and you can't just make it like they use something else.
Hmm. Yeah, yeah.
That,
Oh, I'm glad to hear that.
how much like YouTube, right?
Sorry, what's that?
You kind of like YouTube, they are.
Most of the time, yeah. I kind of test them out too, because like if I look at it, I'll be like, okay, this is kind of like a soft brush, so it's kind of nice for that. But it also has like this tooth, so if I want like a dry brush thing, I can do that. And I'll like tap it to kind of see how it looks tapped too. And I'll be okay, that's kind of an interesting texture. I can maybe use that for like a blizzard or a snow or cloud.
I feel less crazy for doing that. Like if I tap each brush, like go brush the camera, what is something? And you get to that, I'll see about
Oh, that's a great idea, you know. Like keep doing that. Like for me, like since this is a soft brush, if it's really small and I'm drawing with it, I can create line work that looks soft too. So it's a good way of like, and I see line work as shape a lot of times too. It's just like a very thin shape, you know?
yeah.
And then I'll ask myself if I need like a hard edge brush, where would I go to add like a hard edge? Like even though this looks a little different, like it's soft, so I'm like, okay, I'm gonna add a little bit of softness. And excuse me, I'm gonna add a little bit of softness here using this brush. And I mean, I can make it more accurate too if I want. But sometimes like because it's soft and the structure looks good, that's already fine. You know, like just leaving it like that, I think that looks pretty good too. You gotta clean up some of this part over here in a bit. Let's You can also use a smudge tool to soften things, y'all. I don't use smudge tools to blend, but if you want to like add texture, you can use it to like add texture. So maybe not for this part, but that's also another thing too. Like I think like giving a brush a purpose helps a lot. And sometimes we have to like get like actually like define that purpose for them to for the brush too. Exactly, right?
Hey,
All right, you're for this. Then you can be for that. Okay. do want to add a couple more shadows in some parts. Let's start pushing this part a little darker. Oh, what time is? Oh, it's 8:02. We got to take a break actually. Uh, Before we do, sorry, I just saw your question, Cameron. Which class are you talking about? Like digital illustration or like the one for merchandising?
I think you were talking about a class you were teaching at Cal State Fullerton at one point. That's what I was asking about.
Oh, I think like we teach it here too, but every school just teaches it a little bit differently. Over here, it's just generally a digital illustration class. So, in that class we go over Photoshop and Illustrator, but it's also like my job in that class to just kind of introduce people to like the different categories of illustration. So that would be like merchandising, what is it, like concept art, sequential art, commercial illustration, what is it? Commercial will also be advertisement. What else is there? Life illustration, technical illustration. What is it? Fashion design. That's also another form of like illustration too. So in that class, like it's mainly like a Photoshop and Illustrator class, but they get to dabble into like making some illustrations and making it to like tangible form. So I think it really depends on the school. I think we teach it here too. It's just maybe in like you might maybe more in like Mike's illustration class, but every teacher kind of focuses on something different. Like I know Mike is more on big on like general commercial illustration and storytelling. But like for Cal State Fullerton, we're also pretty big on storytelling. But I started teaching more merchandising in that class also because that's also another form of like illustration. And I'm getting more students who actually want to get into merchandising as well. Like they're more interested in getting into the boothing scene, starting their own business, etc. So I think it really kind of depends. But Cal State Long Beach definitely teaches it as well. It's mostly like an illustration thing, I would say. I would say illustration and graphic design, if you take those together, you probably will run into like those topics a little bit more. But hopefully that answered your question though. All right. Here's what I'm gonna do, y'all. We gotta take a break right now. Let's come back at 8:20. So that's about like 15 minutes, and then we'll get back and go and continue. If I have any questions for me, I'm just gonna take a walk. Take a walk. Cool. All right, I'll be right back. All right, let's go ahead and continue. Let's see. There are some parts I kind of want to fix up a little bit. I'm actually going to make a new layer on top of everything because I use the silhouette to just kind of like get all those parts in. I just want to like carve into the face just a little bit more. Go. And for the hair, let's actually extend the hair down just a tad bit more too. Here, start pushing some lights in these parts too. I might start merging down some of my stuff together also. Lights. This is another brush I also like to use. It's just called the charcoal brush. It doesn't look exactly like charcoal, but it kind of feels like it sometimes. And it's just a nice, it's kind of like just a softer, flatter, rounder brush, like a soft, flat, round brush. So it has a little bit of texture to it. So let's go to our darks again, and let's go ahead and add some contact shadows to some parts, like areas like right here. Layer on the top. And go ahead and add some shadow over here too. Start softening some of the nostrils. They're very hard shapes right now, but it needs to be a softer transition. And let's go and start working on the lips just a tad bit more. Let's use the flat brush again. I kind of like that for like streaky things. So we'll use that for like the lips. Nice, let's look it good. Let's go in this area, like the shadow again. Let's make another layer. We're gonna add some darks. One thing I kind of recommend for a rendering, y'all, is you're gonna run into stages where it's not really looking as nice as you hoped, but just keep powering through. Sometimes like you'll know that it's not gonna turn out good because the foundations or the fundamentals in there need more work, but for the most part, like a lot of like these pieces kind of go through like a very awkward stage sometimes. So if you feel like it's not looking good, but the foundations are still there, just keep going at it because eventually it's gonna look okay. Go ahead and actually, here's what we're gonna do. Let's group these parts. Actually make a duplicate. I'm gonna merge down the lips. Turn this off. I'm gonna start merging down some stuff. Yeah, just trust the process. Like you'll know if the foundations are off because like if you look from far, I mean, one of the most obvious things is just proportions. You know, like yeah, it's usually most of the time proportions or like the shape looks off or something like that. But if the shape looks good, the proportions look good, and the general value looks good, just keep going. You know, I try to think of things as like a lot of times like methodically, like step by step. So um if that one particular step looks really off and I started moving to the next thing, that's maybe where my foundations start to get a little bit wonky. But for the most part, like if everything is looking okay, it's gonna look okay in the end too. Just keep going. Just soften some of the lips. Make it feel like it's blending into the face just a bit. Yeah, lips usually what is it? They're actually like soft. Like it's just like what is it? Like color and texture, but it's not like well, I guess it depends on the person because you know everybody looks different. But a lot of times like if you look at lips, they can be a little bit softer. Like we only make it really hard, I feel like, because like cartoons, things like that. You know, but don't be afraid to soften some of the stuff, y'all. Like a lot of times just softening like your edges can really, really bring things together. Let's see. I have like veins on the eyes, but I'll add that later too. Yeah, let's start merging down some other things together. I'm gonna start merging down the face actually. So we can make a group. Let's go ahead and merge that down. And we have the clothing over here. I do kind of want to get rid of the silhouette and the clothing part, but I am going to make a duplicate of my silhouette so that way I can always jump back to it. And I can make a new silhouette too. It's easy. Just make a duplicate of everything, merge it down, and then make it black. That's a new silhouette, right? But just so I have like one for like the clothing and stuff like that, we can do that first. I'm going to select this over here, and then we're just going to go back here. I'm just going to press delete, and we're just going to like erase the top part. And there we go. Now it's oh, there we go. Now like they're separated, so a little bit, huh? Okay. Go to the hair. Let's start merging the hair down too. It's looking good. Okay, that part I have to together, I guess. That now. Okay. The hands, I definitely want still like on their own. Keep this here, keep that there. Okay. Ooh, all right. Let's go ahead and start I still got to work on the hand actually, but it's going to continue working on the face for today. Now, I do recommend when you're working on top of something kind of like this, the first thing I would kind of do is I would make a new layer. And actually, let's do this first too. I'm going to make a selection over here, and then we're just going to go ahead and make a new layer on top of that. And I just want to unify some of the shapes together a little bit more. So you're going to press Command H to just kind of hide it. I'm just going to grab a soft brush. And this is really just to like push a unified, you can just kind of see it's really, really subtle, but it's starting to like just smooth out some of the parts of my face just a tad bit more. Go back to this one over here. Let's make a new layer on top. I got to get my moles too. I forgot about that. Oh, all right. Let me restart Photoshop, y'all. It's like glitching out a little. It's okay to have a little texture, by the way, y'all. One thing that I kind of see a lot of people do that I usually think looks a little bit weird is sometimes like the face is like too smooth. So you just want to be a little bit careful of that. Like skin has texture actually. Like one of my teachers, what they used to like to do was like they would grab like stone texture and use that as like pores and stuff like that. But it was a little more abstract, I would say, when he did it that way, but it made it a lot better than just keeping everything like plastic smooth, you know? So for me, like the brushwork over here, that kind of helps a lot with that. Like even though I see like pores and stuff like that, like just having a little bit of brushwork already helps a lot. If I really want to get the pores in, like I could use like what is it, like dirt dots, or I have like this noise brush I really enjoy too. Sometimes what I'll do is I'll grab some of this and just like, yeah, it's such a good brush. Like just a little bit of that noise just already adds to like the whole like rendering. You see, it like makes it feel like skin just a little bit more, right? But I also wouldn't overdo it either. Usually, again, we see most texture in our midtones, and like when you're doing a, we're not trying to make a photograph. Like if I wanted y'all to like do something exactly the way it looked like, then I would just give y'all a camera, right? So I would say like you want to add it in areas that you feel like can express that without having to like add it everywhere. So you're kind of just suggesting it in. That's like the best way for me to like kind of describe it. So not every even though texture is everywhere on our skin, it's not meant to be put everywhere when you're trying to draw or paint something. It already looks so much better from like the previous save. My lips need to be a little bigger though. I think I like shave some of it off. Go back to the hair. Let's use a hard round brush this time, and we're just going to get some of the details. So this is where I'll go in and I'll add some strands, and we can also add some like loose strands too. Again, if you don't want to like commit, make a new layer first, and then like work on top of it, and you can just merge it down later. Let's do this. I'm going to grab the hair. I want to move it all the way to the top. There we go. And even like out here, add a couple strands kind of coming out. And I don't try to get every single strand like exactly. Like I try to like I just literally scribbled up and down and just made sure I followed the hairline, and that looks good from afar. I'm not trying to like again be like a human copy machine or printer or anything like that. I'm trying to make art, you know. Some art can be very technical, and that's fine. But like at the same time, like I'm just trying to keep in mind that, you know, this is going to be a rendering, and it's supposed to emulate like a charcoal or graphite painting in some way, or graphite piece, but in some way. So I might not need to add all of those parts in there. Now, let's actually make another layer. I'm gonna add some of my moles and stuff in there. Let's see. He's gonna be on a different layer, and I'll just I had a friend in middle school who just like ripped off one of his moles in front of me. It was gnarly. Yeah, I know. He was like, "Oh, that feels better," and I was just like,
You know, something
"I know, right?" I was like so shocked. I was like, "Are you okay?" And he's just like,
awesome.
he's like, "I feel better now." I'm like, "Are you okay, man?" I was like, you didn't have to do that." And he's like, "I did." It was interesting. Yeah, he's done some crazy stuff. He like ripped off like a wart in front of us before too. Yeah, I was like, dang man, you're hardcore. Yeah, yeah, to each their own. So it was like super random, but I was like when I was like just adding him in my moles, I was just like that memory just popped back up. Yeah, there was like bleeding everywhere too. Yeah, I was like, dude, I thought I was so shocked. And it was like during lunchtime. I remember. I was like, "You okay, man?" He's like, "Yeah, I'm good." Seriously.
Before problems, it's not
Sorry, what's that?
before problems, it's not balls.
Yeah, I was popping pimples when I was in middle and high school.
You multiple back.
I don't know. That's a good question. That's definitely a Google or ChatGPT question. Something y'all can do too is if you want to add a little bit of that sketching quality, you're also welcome to like play around with like your hatching techniques a little bit. Like sometimes what I'll do is I'll just add like a little bit of like hatches here and there just to make it look and feel even more like a sketch. And it could be like really subtle too. Like it could be something kind of like this, where it's just like barely noticeable. Yeah, yeah, that's like a nice like artistic quality to it, I feel like.
Yeah, I had
Oh, nice. Hatching is great. It's honestly such a hack.
I want you to do that. This extra line and all that. Didn't do the whole thing. Just fine.
Hmm. It looks so good too. I think people get focused on trying to make things look like a photo so much they forget to make it look like an art piece.
Yeah, that's what I'm watching.
Yeah, exactly. Like when I used to work with kids, they love using the smudge tool to like blend and they just try their best to make everything look like as smooth as possible. And I'd be like, like not not everything looks like that. Like skin has texture.
Very
What's up?
Yes, sir.
It is, yeah, definitely. Especially if they don't know how to blend very well in the beginning, it could be a great way for like students in the beginning to just kind of get the hang of blending. Really like the way how this is turning out. There's still some very slight proportional issues, I gotta say. It's very, very minor. Like it's you can mostly for me like the eyes are the ones that are like kind of bothering me the most. But I'll probably fix that towards. I'll try to fix that towards the end as best as I can. But another thing I'll say too is just keep moving forward. Like um, if you have time to fix it, go back and fix it. But I also have to say like don't get sucked into fixing things so much that you don't get anything done. Um, I had a previous student who always asked for feedback, and every time they got feedback, they would just erase everything and start over and erase everything, or like they would start over from like way before, and that perfectionism can really, really get to you because like it's just much better to get something finished rather than perfect. Like, of course, like as a teacher, I would love to see all my students like do something that looks really good and perfect, but the point of class is to improve, and it makes you feel better in terms of grades. Art, it doesn't really matter that much. Like I know people who like failed school, but they're so good at art they have like a job now, right? Like the only real requirement is like if you want to work somewhere, they might require to have a bachelor's, but they've never taken a look at your transcript or anything like that. It's all about like, hey, can you design? Do you understand like how the pipeline works? Are you easy to work with? That's a really big one too. Like even at the coffee shop, I had a barista who was really good at making their drinks. My mom likes to do this thing where she tests every barista and asks them to make a latte for her, and then she judges which one's the best, and like that's kind of how she knows like who's a good barista and not. Yeah, she's like a huge coffee snob, like coffee and tea snob. And like he was like by far the best. Like everything he made, even like his own custom drinks that were on the not on the menu, they were so good. But he was just such an ass to like like really like couldn't take feedback, always called off work. And he would tell everybody like I know I'm the best, so like I don't really have anything to worry about. Yeah, the last straw was when he did something that he wasn't supposed to do, and he said, "What are they going to do? Fire me?" Yeah, and I was just like, "All right, well, you're kind of just asking for it at that moment."
Yeah, it's good to be like confident.
Exactly, yeah. Like if anything, like if you're so good at something, like be humble about it or help others. Like
I don't know,
yeah, or both.
anything
It's
but like being
mhm. Him calling off work was the biggest issue though. He really liked going to raves, so he would always call off work and then like to go to a rave, and yeah, he would make up like, "Oh, I'm sick, so I can't come." But
yeah,
we're allowed to ask for proof. Yeah, right. I told him I was like, "Yo, you called off like sick 3 days in a row. Like, you need it. Like by law, I'm allowed to ask for a doctor's note." And he couldn't provide one. So yeah, and so I just kind of gave him we gave him strikes. We have a strike system. I did give him like a couple strikes for that, but it's looking really good. I'm very happy with how it's turning out. Like it's really come a like look at like
Yeah. Wow.
yeah, it's such a huge jump from like before the break and like yeah. I can be a rock. I like being a rock. I like
The way that I start.
definitely. Yeah, so we have like what is it? Like right before the break, right when the break started, and then now we have like a much more refinement. I'm trying to push my expression a little bit more. Like that's the one thing I feel like I'm kind of getting off right now is like some of these parts can be moved a little bit. Like the mouth can be, I feel like a little bit more to the left. They can really push that mouth. And I feel like the eye proportions can be fixed a little, but they're pretty close enough where like if you didn't see the reference, like you could still tell it's me. And just to maybe just to also get some other detail in there right now. Let's see. Let's work on like the clothes just a tad bit. Yeah, it's a I don't even think I need to render it all out. I'm just gonna kind of like I'm gonna render a good amount of it out, but it's not like really an important thing. So I'll probably like suggest it, but also put enough detail so that it has like it doesn't feel like too rough when you look at it either. So I'm kind of treating it like a painting, y'all. Like I don't need to render some paintings like people like to render it out like a lot, but like for me, I'm just gonna treat it like a charcoal drawing or painting where like I'm just picking the parts that I want people to look at, but making sure the other parts, like it's the sum of the parts that make up the whole, right? So as long as there's enough detail in some of these parts, I think like I can get away with like leaving some of it a little rougher. So it's gonna add a little bit of like noise here, kind of like that. Another thing you can do too, y'all, is you can make a selection. So this is a trick I really like to do is like if I'm having a like there's a little bit of a shadow here, so I'm just gonna make a selection that's a little bit bigger. But this over here, I want it to be a hard edge. So I'm gonna like basically use my noise tool over here. So it's soft on that end and hard on this end. So now that I deselect it, you kind of have that hard edge. It's a little bit too dark
But
though.
it's you show us such more and then we can use it for recommended.
Yeah, it's I when I for me it's when I see a hard edge on one end and a soft edge on another end of a shadow. So I usually most of the time if it's on the silhouette and you're clipping masking it, you don't really have to think about it too much. But it's within like an area that you want to like kind of make a hard like if there's a hard angle or separation followed by like a blend to a different area, then that's when you can kind of use that.
Yeah, so we can save you a click with music, right?
Yeah, exactly.
Because I usually have so many actually.
Yeah, it's a what is it? Yeah, because yeah, if you have so many clips, then it's kind of crazy. So you might not need it. You can just use like a selection or something. A little bit of light over here. Looks really good. So kind of like this, like what I can do is like I can select this part here, and then I can add a little bit of noise over here. And then that way it doesn't get into that bottom part, but stays in this top part. That's kind of how I use it.
That is you know,
Yeah, it definitely yeah, it definitely helps so much with that because adding another base sometimes like I love the clipping mask method, but it's just you can really lose where things are. Luckily, this is just black and white, so usually what I do in color is like I won't even finish everything. I'll just kind of rough it out with the clipping mask, then I'll merge everything down and paint over it.
right.
Because if I have like way too much stuff, it's just such a headache to look at. This part over here, let's go back to the neck, start adding some shadows. Actually, I'm gonna alpha lock it. There's like a really bright line, so we're gonna go ahead and like fix that here. Let's actually move the clothes over the head. There we go. Now if I go back here, it's going to merge these down too. Well, actually, no, they're on totally separate layers. I just realized that. So let's go back down here. Yeah, this is from like the selection earlier that I was deleting. So just go back in and repaint those parts, and we'll grab some like black, just like darken those parts a little bit more. And we can go here. And some of these parts can feel like they're blended together. And then we can have a hard edge towards the top to show that separation. Another thing too, I would say is don't over render. Like something I might start doing is so I really like the way it's looking and there are things I want to fix, but I'm scared that the more I work on this, the more it's gonna ruin it actually. So what I can do instead is if this is looking pretty good, then I can get started on my hands. And once I finish my hands, if that looks good, then I can go back and start like touching up other stuff. For the most part, though, I'm pretty happy with where the face is. There are some very slight things I want to fix, but again, I don't want to like over render it too much. So maybe we'll jump back to it a little bit later. Just for now. There we go. Yeah, so let's work on the hand a little bit. We'll also wrap up the class in like 10 minutes probably. Any questions, by the ways, like before I jump over to like the next part? Awesome. And just to kind of show you all really quick too, like just the progress, like this is literally how it looked in the beginning of the day. Then we got to here, and we got to here, and we got to here.
Like, yeah, it's so fast.
Yeah, it's mostly just that clipping mask thing because it's like it forces you to think about like if I have to make a layer for the core shadow or light side versus dark side, core shadow, midtones, highlights, and reflective lights, what shapes do I need to hit in order to get it to look like from point A to point B in the least amount of steps? Like I'm pretty big on like brush economy, y'all. For me, there's two ways you can improve in art. The first one is that you literally just get better. You practice, learn more skills, learn more concepts, techniques, things like that. The second way is you get from point A to point B, but in less amount of time. So for me, like when I'm using this method, it takes a lot less time for me to get from point A to point B because I'm just thinking about like what are the least amount of things I need to put in there so that it looks like what it's supposed to look like. And then later I can like blend the edges together and do all that kind of stuff.
Would it make sense to like start with silhouette and then like let pieces, like try and get that simplified?
It would, yeah. So it would be like silhouette, then like divide it up into its like sections. So hair, face, clothes, and then eyes, mouth, anything that's like a different value or color. And then from there, you work into those parts, and it's light side versus dark side. Then you do like core shadow and highlight, and then from there you add like your reflective lights, and then start blending your midtones and edges together.
Like, I never like got to the point where like you're like kind of halfway through the process, like you got way, like everything kind of like has to form, and then you just merge everything. You're on top.
Yes, I do. I have gone there before. If it's easier for you to start working on it that way and you don't, so this is assuming that you're not using color. If you're using color, then that's fine too, but like you just have to make sure you throw the color on top of those things and work on color after. But if you feel like it's easier to do that, that's one like and you're or you have too many layers, that's maybe one thing I would maybe think about. Or another thing to think about too is if you want your piece to feel more painterly or more impressionistic, it's better to merge it earlier and like work on one layer. So it forces you to like,
I was thinking about the part one, like there's just so many people. How can I do simpler?
mhm. Yeah, layers are a tool, y'all. So if you feel like it's starting to like get too crazy, I would just merge some of them down and like start working on top. At the end of the day, it's like it's about making your making sure like your art looks the way you want it to versus like you know, process is just there to help us. Like I very rarely jump into details, but sometimes I will jump into detail because I need that detail to help me figure out other things too. So kind of like the eyeball, like if I get the eyeball in here first and I render it out, then it kind of helps me understand how much to render these other parts out. This thing, scab. Oh shoot, I was working on the wrong layer. Okay, more practice. Also, like for those of y'all who like to use the smudge tool, notice I like haven't really used any smudge tool on here either. It's really just mostly just brush work. A lot of soft brush, hard round brush, and just like the soft like forms brush. And then like for the hair and scratchy parts, I just use like the flat brush. So I just kind of ask myself a lot, like which ones do I need for blending? Which one do I need for like sharper forms and shapes? When do I need like a hair texture or a scratchy texture? When do I need noise? Right? And it helps to like simplify. I would say like when it comes to brushes, just have like a couple brushes that you use. Like keep them consistent and you can change between them to like play around with texture and stuff, but keep them like simplified first and then you can always add more later. That usually helps you achieve the effect that you want a little bit quicker. Oh yeah, I feel you. Yeah, working on the wrong layer sucks. It can be very annoying to deal with. Then let's go ahead and I just realized that it's covering my eye a little bit more. So, like, you feel like try not to use a smudge tool at all.
Yeah, just
It can't. I would say definitely in the beginning. Yeah, like I like using the smudge tool, but it's more for like texture than it is for like anything else most of the time. hmm Like if I wanted to, like for example, like blend some of the stuff into the background or lose my edges, I'll use a smudge tool to just kind of help with that. And that can be kind of cool. Or like there are some smudge tools that are pretty useful. Like if you really need like a blending smudge tool, like man, I haven't used these in a while.
yeah, when you do dark,
hmm
yes. You'll see that when it's,
You could, yeah, you can definitely. Like when I'm trying to soften things, it's usually like using either a soft brush, a textured brush, or like a smudge tool. But smudging is like not blending is just like a result from smudging. It doesn't do a good job blending. That's why it creates texture. But there are like some smudge tools that are made for blending. Like I think the scatter smudge here can be done for that. Like it just really sort of softens it, but it does have like a specific effect too. So it really kind of depends, but it can't. I would say like just using more brushes in general, along with this brush, can get you to certain effects that you're trying to achieve. So if you want to get something very, very uniform and soft, like you would just use the soft round brush for that. But if you need something that's specific texture, you can use like a brush or a smudge tool for that. For Procreate, the watercolor brushes, like that one, like you actually kind of do need the smudge tool because it allows you to, it gives the effect where it kind of like spreads the water around. So it looks really, really cool. But yeah, it's like very, I would say it's just very situational. Let's move the hand all the way up too.
I think it was a plan tool. So,
The blend tool.
yeah,
We have a blend tool.
yes. Yeah.
Oh, I didn't know that. That's cool. Sounds really useful. Oh, shoot. Actually need to keep my line work there. I guess we'll jump back to that later. Oh, the blur tool. That can help too. It mostly just blurs things versus like blends things. So if you need to soften something, it can help with that. But I always say like blur is more of a camera technique versus like a painting technique. We mostly
Well, you want to like making it a hard edge soft.
you can, but it depends on the effect. Like for example, like Sam does arts, uses the blur tool uses blurs quite a lot. So if we take a look at, let's see, it's a good one. I guess like this one over here. You can see like some of these parts are kind of blurred out.
Oh, in the background, yeah.
Yeah, but like it's because like blur is a camera technique, so he's trying to emulate these characters that are being taken by like a photograph or something like that.
Right.
But if you want to go for something painterly, like actually it looks like a Zach Reds. Like if you want to do something like a little bit more painterly, it's usually a little bit better to like use your brushes or like a smudge tool to like kind of get that like painterly effect. Yeah, his stuff is awesome. It's very, very impressionistic. Or if we're even looking at like what's it, Richard Schmidt. Like you can see like it's more of a smudge over here or a soften or feathering with the brush versus like a blur. Like some parts can be blurred, but for a painting, it's like a blur with like other smudges and textures that make it painterly. Whereas like if you're trying to go for something that feels a little bit more like photographic, a blur might be better for something that's a little bit more photographic.
Yeah, I guess I was just thinking in the context of one thing, but it's a thing sense that
Oh, gotcha. It's really interesting. And style is also a thing too. Like, you're welcome to break the rules if you want also. Uh, just really depends on what you're trying to like go for, right? So,
it's those basic form I think of like a sphere, and then like a hard edge for a shadow, and
mhm,
then you like make that shadow like sphere.
mhm. Definitely, yeah. But this is another good example too of like that lasso thing because I don't want it to get onto the thumb. So I'll like lasso in that part, and then I'll just go ahead and add the light over here first, and it keeps the thumb like kind of gonna wrap things up here. Coming close to the end of class. So really quickly, y'all, I'm gonna go ahead and make a quick save so that way we can kind of see like the progress. So this is what we had today in the beginning. We started adding the shadows in. Afterwards, like we started what is it? We started like refining them down a little bit more. And then from there we started like really polishing it up. So that's kind of like my process. Next week I'm gonna go ahead and finish the hand and then I'm gonna show y'all some like post-processing effects. So I do want to go in and maybe like grab like a smudge tool myself or even just like a blur tool or whatever. Like just use multiple smudges to kind of like I can make it more like charcoaly just by like even just getting rid of some of these parts over here, kind of like that. So I'll show you how I use certain effects to like add to like the artistic look and also like how I would use maybe like overlay, color dodge or some parts to just really push some lights in the end. But otherwise, like any questions on this before I give last announcements and let y'all go. Oh, thank you, thank you. Yeah, I think it turned out really, really good too. What is it? Some parts still bother me, but I'm trying not to let it like. I gotta like lighten up the lips. That's something I'm noticing right now.
Wrinkle on the left side
Hmm.
towards down there, and like any soft towards you.
Yeah, I agree too. Yeah, it's a little bit too hard edge over here. So yeah, next week I'll go ahead and like polish those things up. But so far, looking pretty good. But any other questions or things like that before I wrap things up for y'all? Okay, so next Monday we're gonna finish this up. After I'm done with this, just lab for the rest of the class. Wednesday we're gonna do a critique. It's an optional critique, but it's a full lab day. Like, and also on Wednesday your portrait exercises will be due. The following Monday after that, we'll also have another optional critique, but we'll get started on Project 3 stuff. And then the Wednesday after that, so in 2 weeks, that's when this project will be due. Other than that, though, what is it? I'll go ahead and upload this on like Canvas, but